Welcome back to DecoyNoise, where today we're doing 3 more stories from r/Am I the A-hole and taking them to Decoy Court. But first, as always, we have to give out today's ever-coveted Decoy coin of the day, and today's winner is Adriana Tomic. Again, Adriana Tomic has been with the Decoy Koi Pond since the first 1,000 subscribers and is always still giving consistent feedback to every story we do. So Adriana Tomic, we thank you for being a part of that hashtag Decoy Koi Pond. If you want to be just like Adriana Tomic, make sure you subscribe down below, make sure you turn on those notifications, and make sure you let me know that those notifications are on in the comment section below. But let's go ahead and get to that first story of the day, which is: am I the antagonist for refusing to pay a dime for the medical bills of the teenager I technically hit with my car? So OP writes, last year I was driving home for work on a 4-lane road that had a divider in the middle. It's dangerous to cross against a light because the speed limit is 45 miles an hour, but people do it anyway. I saw a group of teens standing on the divider, waiting to cross my lane, but figured they were waiting for the light to change so they had the right of way before they crossed. Well, they didn't, and one kid walked right in front of my car. I slammed on the brakes, but I couldn't swerve because there were cars in the lane next to me. He was pretty seriously injured, but survived. And from the most recent information I have, he has regained full mobility, but continues to deal with some cognitive issues. I blamed myself for a long time and spent several months in therapy over the guilt, but overall, the accident was not at all my fault. By the laws of physics, I could have not stopped in time. I was obeying all traffic laws, and he knowingly walked directly into multiple lanes of oncoming traffic against a light. Apparently, he said he assumed I would stop for him, but if I hadn't hit him, a car in the next lane would have. My insurance company defended me in multiple lawsuits from his parents, health insurance company, and the ones his parents filed against me personally. And I was ruled not at fault every time. But unsurprisingly, his parents are now seriously struggling to pay off his medical bills, and I think should be paying most of or all of it. According to the GoFundMe, they have well over 6 figures of bills. They will be losing their house, and one of the parents is out of work now. I've been contacted by no less than 20 people insisting that since I hit them with my car, I have a moral obligation to pay. My issue: my husband and I both lost close relatives to what's going around and received modest inheritances we were not expecting. So technically, we do have the money to help. Without it, we wouldn't be able to make any meaningful dents in the debt. Our plan has been to use that pay for IVF to start a family, and potentially adoption if that's how it goes. But now, with so many friends/family members of the boy reaching out to my husband directly about the GoFundMe too, my husband says he feels morally conflicted, using that money, in his words, to create a whole new kid when one is already in need. He wants to give the money to the boy's parents to help pay off their debt, and is now even talking about the payment plan they want me to agree to. I understand that technically I hit a kid with my car, but under circumstances I don't think I should have to sacrifice my own kid because of his carelessness. My husband, and the legion of people harassing me, say it's cruel to refuse to pay a dime. I think helping a token amount will open up the floodgates, and I don't feel bad about refusing. Should I? My husband is someone I see as a really reasonable person, so he's making me second guess my feelings. So taking the case and rushing it over to Decoy Court to see who's the antagonist, I'm going to go ahead and say with this right here is, you can't, with this situation, it's sad to say, you probably have the money and you do want to help them out. But the sad part is, if you start paying a little bit, now you've opened up the floodgates, now you've actually identified that you have extra money to help them out, and you feel bad for them, so it's like you do want to do it, but it's like the sad part is you don't want to make yourself more legally liable, so they had to walk away from the situation and kind of scrub their hands clean from it, just because the kid was being what do you want to call it, careless, and just thinking that the world is gonna, revolve around them and everybody's gonna slam their brakes because they're gonna be careless on the street. It's sad, but you can't really say that that's your fault or your inheritance should belong to the family or whatever. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, OP, you're not the antagonist, and I would even venture to say that, like, the husband and all the family members reaching out and everybody trying to put the pressure on OP just because they happen to have money, they're definitely the antagonist in this situation. But I guess I'll go ahead and say the whole the decoy defense, like, what would be the inverse of that in a situation where OP does need to give the money? And I could see this as a situation where they were driving, they could have slammed on the brakes or did a little bit of slowing down. They saw the kids and they do the little hand gesture like, yeah, go ahead, you can move. And then she sped up and hit him, where the kid said, hey, I thought you were stopping, you gave me the hand gesture, but maybe she was just eating like ramen noodles in her car and just not paying attention, like doing the hand motion or whatever. I don't know what I'm doing right now. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and say what the decoy defense is. We'll take a brief recess in the Decoy Court right now. Let me know your thoughts down below for story number 1. Do they need to be paying for another kid's carelessness? I don't really know, but let's go ahead and shoot over to those top comments right now. So the top comment is, not the antagonist. I'd be speaking to a lawyer about all those people harassing you. True. And edit, if you're considering making the generous action of an anonymous donation, please confirm with a lawyer first that there is a minimal chance of that being construed as an admission of guilt. Very true, and it's sad we live in a very litigious country. So the next top comment is, I was once witness to an accident very similar to what you're describing. A pedestrian ran into 3 lanes of traffic and I narrowly missed him, but the car beside me didn't. As someone who's seen what you're describing, I agree with your assessment that this was not your fault at all. And every one of those 5 different times the pedestrian's attorneys have contacted me to testify in their latest lawsuits against the car that hit him, I'm very clear that I will be the worst witness they ever call, because I will say in open court that this accident was 100% the fault of the idiot pedestrian who launched himself into moving traffic, not the fault of the poor driver who hit him and also was traumatized, not the antagonist. And it's very true. It's like, OP is very much the victim in this situation as well, where they have to go to therapy because the poor kid had severe injuries. He's got his mobility back, but probably had suffered a TBI, traumatic brain injury. So it is a situation where the kid is not the only victim, and actually OP is probably an innocent victim in the situation because they had to deal with it, and there was probably nothing they could have done other than trying to slam on the brakes a little bit. So let's go over and shoot over to those controversial comments and see what they're saying. The top controversial comment is, I failed my first written driving test for this very question. The question was, who has the right of way? A moving vehicle following all traffic laws, a pedestrian jaywalking, and I failed because pedestrians, at least in Maryland 1995, had the right of way at all times in traffic. No antagonist here, but your insurance should have covered this, and I believe they did, and they covered OP as well. The next controversial comment is, not the antagonist, but it might be good to sit down and look at all the money you have and see what, if any, you're willing to donate. At this point, don't owe them anything legally or ethically for what happened, but in a tragic way, you are connected to them and their family, and a donation, even one that seems like a token donation, might help set your husband at ease. I'm basically incapable of not even giving a small amount to a GoFundMe that crosses my way, so I'm biased to crowdsourcing healthcare since we lack better options. Perhaps you could even share the link around with friends, family, or coworkers, not in a help me, this is my fault, but in American healthcare is BS, let's help as much as we can. But also keep in mind you spent a ton of time and energy being sued by them and going to therapy to help make yourself feel better. You and the teen are both suffering for his mistake. And if a token donation opens the floodgates, then just get comfortable blocking people. And that's what this reply right here is, just someone that doesn't really have has a loose understanding of what the floodgates would be and what an admission of guilt would be, and even donating to something that you're a victim of yourself. So I could see why this one got controversial, because it's just someone that may or may not have a firm grasp as to how these things work. So, let me know what you think, what your thoughts are down below for story number 2, but let's go ahead and shoot to for story number 1. Now let's shoot over to story number 2, which is, am I the antagonist for having my daughter write a morbid school family tree project? Okay, so OP writes, my biological family is dead. I was raised in foster care, and so my friends are my family. I met my late husband in college. He was raised by his mother, who had abandoned him and later died. No adopted family. As an adult, I've looked into both trees, and our biological ancestors are, to put it mildly, really dangerous people and or dead. My late husband and older son died in a car crash. My daughter is in kindergarten, and she, more accurately, me, was supposed to do a family tree project for school. I tried speaking to her teacher that this was not going to be a Pollyanna report, but she is one of those people that can't comprehend that someone's family is a dark subject, and insisted that it needed to be biological, so I did it. Some of them, like her father and my son, I have actual information for aside from that they're dead. But for most of my family and her paternal family, I literally have only birth dates, death date, when they would have had their kids, and cemetery information, unless they were cremated. It was supposed to have 10 pictures, but most of the pictures I have of any ancestors are just headstones. I made a trip when my husband and I first married to take the pictures of the headstones, so I included those in there. I only have 3 pictures total of my biological family, and most of them are group shots where I could only label maybe 3 people. I don't have any pictures of my late husband's family from before me and my kids, but I put some of the old ones in there too. So while other kids had long family trees, my daughter was basically introducing the concept of death to her kindergarten class. Now I'm getting slammed with calls from other parents, the teacher, and the principal. They're appalled that I allowed such a morbid report and are saying that I traumatized their children. I don't think I did anything wrong. They wanted a report on her biological ancestors, and I gave it. Kept it G-rated. I just didn't lie that the people were alive when they weren't. I don't raise her to think that death is taboo or anything to be ashamed of anyway. Death is part of life. Most of her/my family is dead, so talking about my family means just talking about death, and it's something you have to accept. Am I the antagonist? So taking the case and rushing over to Decoy Court, it is pretty sad that the teacher was just kind of dismissive about it, like, yeah, no, just make the thing, have 10 pictures, they all got to do it. And I mean, with the whole lockdowns and everything, they're probably stressed out as it is, so they're just trying to make this class project go through smoothly. They're not adjusting the whole Zoom call thing or whatever, so it could be a thing where they didn't mean for it to go that bad, but they were just so overburdened by the rest of their curriculum that they just pushed that through, not knowing that this family tree of death was going to come their way. And I guess the only situation on that is, like, maybe the decoy defense would be is maybe they just said, okay, yeah, they may be passed away, but you still make a family tree, and maybe you have like them draw a little picture of what they would have looked like, or just said their name or anything. You don't have to introduce headstones or tombstones or be very morbid, like this is the way they died, that's the way they died. Maybe you just do something to celebrate their life, and then OP was just doing that malicious compliance, like, you're really gonna make me dig up all these memories of all these terrible people in my family, and like the fact that they got left in foster care and the husband got left in foster care. Yeah, let's go ahead and just make this as grim and as sad as possible, that her father has passed away, the brother has passed away, and all the other family members are gone. Let me make sure that everybody else gets the full brunt of that sadness in a family tree that's just supposed to be a happy, fun project for a kindergarten class. I mean, I could see it both ways. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, with this situation, maybe a little bit everyone sucks here, because maybe the teacher should have said, okay, been more accommodating, saying, okay, yeah, you can make up some stuff, and maybe OP should have been a little bit like, okay, I want to get revenge on the teacher for making us do this terrible project, but I don't want to, make all the kids freak out. Like, wait, mom's gonna die? Wait, grandma's gonna die? Wait, what is this right now? It's just supposed to be a fun family tree, not a lesson in, don't mess with OP's mom or OP and the kid or whatever. So that's my thoughts. Let's go ahead and take a brief recess right now. Let me know what you guys are thinking about story number 2. Should your family tree include headstones? But let's go ahead and shoot over to that top comment right now, which is, not the antagonist. Concepts of life and death are complex for kindergarten-age children. However, you warned the teacher and she was clear about what she expected from the project. Also, r/malicious compliance might enjoy the story. And I agree with that, but that's the thing is, like, they understand that for the kindergarten-age children, they shouldn't really be exposed to like what a tombstone is. But the same idea is, you don't want to punish them for something that the teacher did. But the next top comment is, not the antagonist. The teacher was highly insensitive and also insisted that it had to be biological. That sounds discriminatory against adopted people. Tell the principal you attempted to address the situation with the teacher and were dismissed, and that she left your daughter with no options if she was going to turn in the assignment. And why are the parents calling you? Is there an open phone list? Did you authorize your contact information shared with other parents? I thought the same thing, but I thought maybe in the age of lockdown, everybody's on Zoom anyway. It would be as easy as just going through the class list and saying, oh, look, there's a little decoy. Click there, decoy. I need to talk to your mom. What the heck was that family tree about? That sort of thing. So let's go ahead and shoot over to those controversial comments, because everybody's getting heavily downvoted, so it should be a bit more entertaining right now. So the top controversial comment right now is not clickable, but the next one is, I know that Reddit is going to blame everyone else here, but not me. Listen, if every other adult in the extended situation all think you're unreasonable, then that is almost certainly true. Your report could have been both true and out of bounds. I have to see it for myself, but for all of us and see it, but if all of us did see it, I bet the same majority of us would judge the same way the majority of your local peers did. Learn your community standards, and if you live in some kind of fundy cult or something, then mention it so we can know why everyone else is crazy. Until then, you're the antagonist. Got massively downvoted, but I honestly kind of think that, like, if you have a whole bunch of people around OPs thinking that they're the antagonist, maybe there's a bit of truth. But the top controversial comment is, we need more information. How old is kindergarten? Like 5 years old? I'm in the UK, so we don't call it kindergarten. I find it hard to believe that they've been given homework, a whole family tree, and if they did, they surely would be just names and not much else. The first time I remember learning about family trees was 9 at the earliest, and yeah, I know about death being taught to kids is a natural thing, but these kids are incredibly young, and you're not the other kids' parents. Maybe their parents would have liked to introduce the concept to their kids in their own time/way. I just feel like you were being petty for no reason by bringing in a bunch of pictures when you could have just told her make a family tree of people she knows and maybe added family friends she considers chosen family to speak. I'm leaning towards everyone sucks here, but the age thing is making me a bit skeptical of this post. And that's one thing that I would say they got massively downvoted, but this was legitimately like just a giant paragraph of 2 sentences. So I get why the people were kind of hating on it, but I believe the same thing. This is a bit of everyone sucks here because it was just that malicious compliance where, the other kids in the kindergarten got the got the worst part of it when she should have just gotten the petty revenge on the teacher, not anybody else. But, let me know what your thoughts are on story number 2, but we'll shoot over to that third and final story of the day, which is Am I the antagonist for getting mad at my friend because he photoshopped my wedding pictures? So OP writes, about a month back, my husband and I got married. We had this very small church wedding with just family and friends. My friend, David, is a professional photographer and is kind of famous in our city for his amazing work. When I told him about my wedding, he offered to do the photos for free as a wedding gift. Yesterday, we received the wedding pics and well, he's edited the heck out of my face and body. First thing we noticed is that he made my waist smaller to get that hourglass appearance. The next thing he did was to edit my rather pointy nose into a small, button-like one. In some pictures where my side profile is visible, he's edited out the dorsal hump. The end result looks like me, but also like every generic Instagram model you see online. I quite like my nose, and I quite like the way I looked in my wedding day. So I called him up to ask if he had the unedited versions of these pictures, and he said he's already deleted those. I told him that he shouldn't have photoshopped my wedding pics without asking first, and that it ruined the whole thing. He said that he only made subtle changes that most of his clients ask him to do, and that's why he was being proactive in my case. I told him that it was very stupid to assume that everyone likes/wants the same thing. He didn't think he was wrong and said that he was trying to do a nice thing and I was being ungrateful. I told all of this to a common friend and she thinks I'm overreacting because all he did was, quote, make you look prettier. Am I the antagonist? So taking the case and rushing it over to Decoy Court, it makes sense that you'd want to make it genuinely you and have your wedding day be you. And I could see kind of both sides of this, but it's just like, yes, he probably should have kept the unedited raw data files of the images and everything, and it should have been available to her. But I guess the decoy defense section of this thread would be, they probably know, they said he's a famous photographer/editor, so she probably knows his style and the way that he edits the photos. So it was probably a situation that they probably could have already assumed that was the way that the photos were going to be if they looked at his portfolio and saw that, hey, he does that to everybody. Everybody has a button nose. Everybody's Instagram standard. Everybody's got the hourglass shape. Like, maybe that's just what they do. So a little bit on both of them, but I do think that's kind of messed up where you don't even get the photos to your wedding because you were relying on someone to take them and now they're gone forever. So I can kind of see why that is a thing. I'm going to go ahead and say that OP, you're not the antagonist, and a little bit of the photographer being very lightly the antagonist for not keeping the original ones, but also still kind of not the antagonist, because if it was like, if my specialty was making red velvet cupcakes and I was like, I will make the dessert for your wedding, no charge as my wedding gift, and I showed up with a whole bunch of red velvet cupcakes, they would be like, wait, where's the chocolate, where's the coconut, and where's the oatmeal raisin? And I'll be like, what the hell, who eats oatmeal raisin cupcakes? Okay, I'm going on a different tangent right now, but yes, I mean, if that's your specialty, they should know, but it is kind of a messed up everybody kind of loses in this because there's probably going to be a rift in their friendship. But as always, we'll take a brief recess and the Decoy Court. Let me know your thoughts on story number 3. Should you be editing your friends' wedding pictures if that's your specialty? But we'll go ahead and shoot it to the top comment, which is, not the antagonist. Deleting the originals was dumb. Rookie move. Giving you an unasked for Cosmopolitan mag cover girl shop is extremely presumptuous. Girl, not gonna lie, I'd be pissed too. Okay, very true. Next top comment is, not the antagonist. He needs to call up an IT guy who can hopefully undelete those pics. You didn't ask for it and he should give you the unedited versions. And he should do it for free. And tell him it's noted that he thinks you're unsightly. Okay, I mean, you don't gotta, even doing a little bit of subtle Photoshop isn't saying that someone's unsightly. It's just kind of one of those things where, like, even I think in your I forget which one it is, but like with some of your pictures when you're growing up in your high school senior year photo, I remember they I had bad acne, and when my yearbook came out, my acne was gone, and I was like, well, I remember having acne during that picture, and they just kind of did it anyway. It's like, it's not that they thought that I was unsightly, they just thought, okay, look, he doesn't want to be remembered for having terrible skin in high school. So I kind of get that. But let's go ahead and shoot over to those controversial comments, because the top controversial comment is more like what I was thinking, where no antagonist here. This is one of those situations where I think ignorance / stupidity is more to blame than malice. Your friend obviously cares about you if he offered to do your wedding for free, including editing. Photographers nowadays charge thousands for that, especially if he is well known, which is quite the hefty wedding gift. That being said, it was really stupid and thoughtless of him to assume that you don't like the way you naturally look. That's probably a result of decades of social conditioning in his industry. I wouldn't say that he's the antagonist, because he genuinely did this with the intent to make you happy, but he just misunderstood what that meant and seems to be completely out of touch with body positivity. And I believe that is true, where the guy is he's just a little dumb. Maybe he's a little doesn't understand that she's okay with her nose and she's okay with her Dorsal lump, a word I've never heard about that, and all I can think of is a dorsal fin, and I'm really wondering more about what a dorsal lump is, but I don't want to Google search that right now. But back to the story, they got negative 30 points, and yeah, people don't like that. So the next top controversial comment is, I know I'm going against the grain here, but you're the antagonist. He did the photos as a wedding gift, and I agree. He shouldn't have deleted the originals, or he should have asked you if you wanted said edits, but it was free. It's not like you can ask for a refund, but I changed my mind, not the antagonist. A wedding is a very special event. Who the heck deletes the originals for a wedding? And that's the thing is, professional photographers, like those little flash drives, you can't recover stuff off it very easily. And also, it's like those images are like 10 to 20 megabytes a piece, depending on how great the camera was. But there's a heavily downvoted post, so let's go ahead and read this one. It says, we need more information. Did you pay him to take the photos? Edit, never mind. I reread. I think you can't be demanding if you didn't pay. Editing is a common thing for wedding photos, so there should have been a communication there. It's odd they deleted the originals, but I'm going to go with no antagonist here. You have a right to be a little upset, but at this point, you get what you pay for. Negative 54 points because I think you get what you pay for, and whatever his common rate is, if it's like $5,000, $10,000, you should get the $5,000, $10,000 package of what you are entitled to, which would probably be the raw data files, the originals, and everything that goes with like paying that much money up front. Otherwise, it's not a wedding gift. It's just kind of a bizarre half favor that they just mailed it in, didn't even do the customer service portion of their services of a wedding photographer. So that's what I got for stories number 1, 2, and 3. Make sure you reply to all 3 of them, letting me know what it is. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe down below. Make sure you turn on those notifications, and make sure you let me know you want to join that Decoy Koi pond by letting me know in the comment section with hashtag Decoy Koi. But if that's all you're gonna want to do, maybe if you don't want to do any of that, make sure you just like the video and possibly share the video. But if nothing else, put this on autoplay and check out the next episode of DecoyNoise coming up next.